The storm had started long before Elias noticed its true strength, but by the time he stepped onto his porch, the rain was pouring so heavily that the forest blurred into a single dark mass. He pulled his jacket tighter around himself, listening to the distant rumble of thunder roll through the mountains. Nights like this used to comfort him. Cool air, quiet trees, the reminder that nature didn't need anything from him. But ever since Daniel's betrayal, even storms felt different. They carried a cold kind of emptiness, as if the wind itself whispered about trust broken too easily. Elias tried to shake off the memory of Daniel's voice telling him, "You're too open. That's why people take advantage of you." He stepped down from the porch, intending only to check the edge of the trail before the rain washed it out, when he caught two silhouettes moving near the signpost. At first he thought the shadows were tricking him, but then lightning flashed, brief, sharp, and he clearly saw two young men standing there, soaked to the bone, backpacks sagging with water. He hurried toward them. "Hey, are you two okay?" They turned at the same time, and Elias blinked. Identical faces. Same height, same jawline, same haunted look in their eyes. Twins. The quieter one spoke first. His voice shook from cold. "Our campsite got flooded. We didn't realize how fast the storm would hit." The other brother, more expressive even to the downpour, added, "Our tent collapsed. Everything's drenched. Phones too. We try to follow the trail out, but it's a mess in the dark." They both looked exhausted. Not just physically, but emotionally worn in a way Elias recognized far too well. "My cabin's not far," Elias said. "You shouldn't stay out here." The quieter twin hesitated. "Are you sure? We don't want to impose." "It's fine," Elias answered, though a small part of him whispered Daniel's warning again. But looking at the brothers, shivering, lost, trying to stay brave, he knew he couldn't leave them out there. He led them through the trees, the path muddy under their feet. When the warm glow of his cabin windows appeared, he heard one of the twins, the more outgoing one, softly sigh in relief. Inside, the cabin felt small but safe. A fire crackled in the stone fireplace, casting soft gold across the wooden walls. Elias motioned for them to come closer to the warmth. "I'm Elias," he said as he closed the door behind them. "I'm River," the expressive twin said, brushing water from his hair with a dramatic flick. "And this is my brother, Rowan." Rowan offered a small, grateful smile. "Thank you for helping us." Elias handed them towels and dug through his closet for spare clothes. Rowan accepted as gently, whispering another quiet thanks, while River grinned like someone who wasn't used to kindness and didn't know how else to show appreciation. As they warmed up by the fire, Elias worked in the kitchen, preparing something simple but hot. He could feel the twins' eyes on him occasionally, Rowan soft and observant, River's curious and bold. He didn't look back at first, unsure if he was imagining it. But when he finally glanced over his shoulder, Rowan quickly looked away, cheeks slightly flushed, while River smirked as if caught doing something harmless. They ate together at the small wooden table, steam rising from their bowls. River talked easily, filling the room with energy, while Rowan spoke only when needed, but every word carried honesty. Eventually they asked about Elias, why he lived alone in the mountains, how long he'd been there, what made him leave the city. He answered gently, skirting the details of Daniel, but not enough to hide the ache in his voice. Rowan noticed immediately. He had the kind of eyes that didn't miss emotional fractures. "You don't have to talk about it," Rowan said softly when River nearly pressed for more. "Everyone has things they're still healing from." Elias appreciated the sensitivity more than he expected. When the meal was finished, he showed them the guest room. It had 2 narrow beds pushed apart. "You can take these," he said. "I'll sleep on the couch." Rowan shook his head almost immediately. "You live here. You should have the bed." River nudged him playfully. "Rowan hates inconveniencing anyone. He'll argue all night if you let him." Elias smiled a little. "The couch is comfortable." "Really?" The twins exchanged a look, one of those silent, twin-language glances, and let it go. As they settled in, Elias lingered near the doorway, watching them arrange their borrowed clothes, warm hands brushing against soft blankets, eyes still carrying remnants of the storm. There was something about them, something fragile, something hopeful. That stirred a warmth in him he hadn't felt in a long time. When he finally lay down on the couch, the fire dimming beside him, he realized the cabin didn't feel empty tonight. It felt alive again, and he wasn't sure why two strangers had managed to do that in just a few hours. But he knew, even then, that this night was going to matter in ways he couldn't yet name. Elias didn't sleep long. The storm rattled the windows hard enough to wake him, but it wasn't the thunder that kept him from drifting off again. It was a quiet sound of footsteps on the old wooden floor. He opened his eyes to see Rowan standing a few feet away, wrapped in one of the blankets Elias had given him. His hair was still slightly damp, and the firelight cast gentle shadows across his face. "I'm sorry," Rowan whispered, almost as if afraid his voice might disturb the calm inside the cabin. "I didn't mean to wake you." The storm, it got loud. Elias sat up slowly. "You okay?" Rowan nodded, then looked toward the dimly glowing fireplace. "I just couldn't go back to sleep." Without thinking, Elias shifted over and patted the couch beside him. Rowan hesitated for a moment, then quietly crossed the room and sat down. They didn't speak at first. They just sat side by side, watching the fire breathe and crackle. Rowan finally exhaled, a shaky breath that sounded heavier than the storm outside. "River always sleeps through anything, even when we were kids, but I've always been like this." He gestured toward the window, where lightning flashed briefly. "Storms remind me of too much." Elias didn't ask what. He didn't need to. Some people carried entire histories in the way they held their silence. After a moment, Rowan continued softly, "Thank you again for letting us stay. You didn't even know us." "I could see you needed help," Elias replied. That was enough. Rowan looked down, his fingers knotting slightly in the blanket. Most people don't think that way. The meaning behind those words tugged at Elias, and for the first time since meeting Rowan, he felt an urge to comfort. Not out of obligation, but from something deeper, something he had tried hard to bury away. Maybe Rowan sensed it, because when he lifted his eyes again, there was a warmth in them that hadn't been there earlier. Before Elias could say anything else, another pair of footsteps echoed. River appeared in the doorway, hair messy, blanket draped over his shoulders like a cape. His voice was still rough with sleep. "Rowan, you okay?" Rowan gave him a small nod. "Just the storm." River's gaze shifted to Elias, then to how close Rowan was sitting to him. For a brief second, something unreadable flickered across his face. Not anger, not jealousy, but something quieter, more complex. Then he walked over, dropped onto the other side of Elias, and let out an exaggerated sigh. "Figures. The one time I sleep well, you two start having deep emotional moments without me." Rowan rolled his eyes gently. Elias chuckled, but River wasn't joking entirely. He leaned forward, looking at Elias with softened eyes. "It really does mean a lot, what you did, finding us out there, bringing us in. Most people would have pretended they didn't see us." Elias shook his head. "I couldn't leave you." "And that," River said, "is the part that surprises me." There was a quiet intensity in the room now, a warmth that didn't come from the fire. Elias felt in the way Rowan's shoulder brushed his, in the way River's knee bumped his lightly, in the simple fact that both twins were sitting close to him in the stillness of a stormy night. He hadn't felt wanted, truly wanted, in a long time, not since before Daniel. And the realization made him swallow back an emotion he wasn't ready to name. Rowan broke the silence. "You mentioned earlier someone hurt you." Elias tensed, but Rowan continued gently. "You don't have to say anything. I just saw it in your voice." River leaned in slightly. Was it infidelity? The word hung in the air like a cracked branch. Elias inhaled slowly, then nodded. "Yeah, someone I trusted. Someone I built years with." He kept the rest of it unsaid. The humiliation, the shock, the way it had hollowed him out. Rowan's hand, still gripping the blanket, brushed gently against Elias's. It wasn't intentional, but he didn't pull away. Elias didn't either. River watched quietly, not threatened, not bothered, almost relieved. "We know what that kind of hurt feels like," River said quietly. different circumstances, but we've had people break trust too. Rowan nodded in agreement. That's why we left. We needed distance. A chance to start over. The storm outside began to soften, the thunder fading into a low murmur. Inside the cabin, the warmth between the three of them grew steady. A shared understanding settled into the room, one that didn't need explanation. They talked for a long time, voices low, blankets wrapped around them, fire crackling softly. Rowan shared small pieces of their past, River filled in details with bits of humor to keep the heaviness bearable, and Elias found himself opening up more than he thought possible to two strangers he had met only hours ago. Sometime near dawn, the three of them drifted into a gentle quiet. Rowan leaned lightly against Elias, his breathing slow and steady. River rested on the other side, half asleep, head tilted back. Elias looked at them, these two unexpected souls who had wandered into a stormy night, and felt something shift inside him, something warm, something alive. He didn't know what the coming morning would bring, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty. This night was becoming unforgettable. Morning came quietly, slipping into the cabin through soft beams of pale light that touched the wooden floor and settled on the edges of blankets. Elias blinked awake, surprised to find warmth pressed close to him on both sides. Rowan's head rested gently on his shoulder, his breath slow and steady, while River was curled near Elias's other side, one hand dangling off the couch as if he'd fallen asleep mid-sentence. The fire had gone to embers, but the room still felt warm in a way that had nothing to do with heat. Elias didn't move at first. He just sat there, listening to the soft breaths of the twins, taking in how peaceful they looked. After everything they'd hinted about their past, seeing them this calm felt like a small miracle. A part of him didn't want to disturb the moment. Another part knew the morning would eventually bring decisions neither of them could avoid. Rowan stirred slowly, lifting his head from Elias's shoulder. When he realized where he'd been sleeping, a faint blush crossed his cheeks, but he didn't pull away sharply. He simply offered a shy, almost sleepy smile. "Sorry, I didn't mean to lean on you." "It's okay," Elias said quietly. "I didn't mind." River woke next, stretching dramatically and letting out a groan like he'd slept on a bed of rocks instead of couch. Then he glanced over and spotted Elias and Rowan still sitting close. He smirked. And once again, I missed the emotional moment by about 10 seconds. Rowan rolled his eyes, but Elias could see the affection behind it. Even in their teasing, the twins had a bond that came from surviving things together. "Breakfast," Elias suggested. "I can make something quick." River immediately sat up. "If you cook, I'll consider this the best rescue in history." "And we'll help," Rowan added softly. In the kitchen, Rowan moved with careful, quiet precision, handing Elias ingredients, rinsing pans, stepping in to help without needing instructions. River, meanwhile, brought an energy that lightened the room, joking, humming, filling silences before they had a chance to feel heavy. Together, the three of them created a rhythm that felt natural, almost practiced, despite the brief time they'd known each other. When they sat at the small wooden table again, sunlight filtered into the windows, brushing across their faces and warming the morning air. For a moment, it felt like they were simply three people who had known each other far longer than a single night. But after a few moments of quiet eating, Rowan's expression shifted. He set down his fork, his voice soft but steady. "Elias, we haven't been completely honest with you." River glanced at him, then nodded. "We didn't lie. We just left things out." Elias looked between them, concern rising. "What do you mean?" Rowan took a slow breath. "Leaving the campsite because of the storm. That part was true, but we were already planning to leave. For good." River leaned forward, hands clasped. "The place we lived wasn't safe. Not physically, but emotionally. Constant lies, manipulation, people making promises they always broke. It got worse this year." Rowan added, "We had to get away. We didn't know where we were going exactly, just away from all of it." Elias listened quietly. Their voices carried the kind of pain that didn't need dramatic words. It lived in the pauses, in the quiet tones, in the way they couldn't fully look at him while speaking. It reminded him of his own wounds, the ones he'd been trying to stitch clothes alone. "I'm sorry you went through that," Elias said softly. Rowan looked up, eyes gentle. "Last night it felt safe here. Safer than we felt in a long time. And that's why this morning feels hard," River added, "because we know we can't stay forever." Even though he paused, searching for the right phrase. Even though last night felt different. Elias swallowed. He'd been trying not to think about the moment they'd leave, but hearing it out loud settled a heaviness in his chest. "You're welcome to stay as long as you need," he offered quietly. Rowan smiled, warm and bittersweet. "We have a friend's cabin we're supposed to reach today. Someone who can help us figure out our next steps." River nodded. "We should go. But we didn't want to leave without telling you the truth." They packed slowly, carefully folding the clothes Elias had lent them, cleaning the small messes they'd made, moving through the cabin with reluctant steps. Rowan paused several times, let his fingers trail over the edges of the wooden table, the blanket, the mantel, as if memorizing the space. River stood near the door longer than necessary, looking at Elias with a tenderness he hadn't shown openly before. When it was time to leave, Rowan stepped forward first. He wrapped his arms around Elias in a soft, lingering embrace. "Thank you," he whispered, "for giving us a night where everything felt okay again." River approached next, placing a gentle hand against Elias's cheek, his voice low. "We'll come back, if you want us to." Elias met his eyes. "I'll be here." The twins smiled, small, hopeful, unforgettable, and then they stepped out into the softened morning light. Elias watched them walk down the trail, their silhouettes framed by the fading mist. They glanced back once, then again, as if they didn't want the moment to end. When they finally disappeared into the trees, the cabin felt quiet, but not the lonely kind of quiet. It felt like the beginning of something. A door opened, a heart stirred awake, and Elias knew, without question, that none of them would ever forget the night that brought them together.